Good evening, everyone. My name is Kroplin, and the title of my presentation is Make Your Ideas Stick. And so, as business professionals and leaders in our organizations, whether we realize it or not, what we're called upon to do is generate impactful ideas on a daily basis. Just lost my train of thought already. But not just ideas that are great in a silo or in your own head, but ideas that can go out and help other people move forward, move in a desired direction. You know, if this is going to look different in different roles. It might, in a sales role, you might be trying to pitch a product to a client. You might be writing a proposal for getting capital funding for a key project that needs to take place. It might be something even bigger. It might be proposing a vision for a department or even an organization. In any of these facets, it's important that your ideas can help drive people in a desired direction, help people understand things, see things the way that you see them. And so tonight I want to teach you 3 principles that you can incorporate into your ideas to help make your ideas really stick with other people. And so the 3 principles that I want to touch on is that your ideas should be simple, they should be concrete, and they should be emotional. And I think to best illustrate this, I'm just going to use an example from industry. And in this case, I'm going to talk about a company called General Mills, and the brand is Hamburger Helper. And in this particular instance, the idea that we're talking about is actually an organizational objective, but it's something that is going to be used to make an impact in that company. And so in 2006, Hamburger Helper had a serious problem. They were in the midst of a decade-long slump. Their sales were decreasing year over year for a decade. Their profits were diminishing. And so the CEO of General Mills, who owns Hamburger Helper, came up with this great idea. He said, our goal for 2006 is going to be to fix and grow the brand. So obviously nobody can argue this is a good idea, but how impactful is this idea really going to be? He's the CEO, so he's got a little bit of an unfair advantage. I mean, these ideas are probably going to make an impact, but if this was any other person, I would argue that this is not a truly impactful idea, although it's a good idea. And it's all in the way that you convey the information. So I haven't got into much of what makes an idea simple, concrete, and emotional, but it's pretty easy to grasp that concept, so let's just give this a test. You believe this idea is simple, to fix and grow an entire brand? I wouldn't think so. I mean, I think that's a pretty complex thought when you really think about it. I mean, it's short, it's compact, but it's extremely complex, all what goes into fixing and growing an entire brand. Is it concrete? I don't think it's concrete. I mean, is it really, what I mean by concrete, is it specific, is it tangible, is it something you can grasp your hands around and say, yes, I understand from what you're saying, this is what I should do? I don't think it quite really hits that on the head. It's not very specific. And is it emotional? So does it appeal to you as an individual? Unfortunately, Hamburger Helper doesn't have the appeal for somebody to say, oh man, Hamburger Helper's in trouble, I need to go help. I mean, that's not something that you really, it doesn't hit home with you as an individual. It doesn't really just get you on board just because he says we need to fix and grow this dying brand. And so, regardless of whether it passes my test for what it takes to have an impactful idea, Melissa Studzinski was given this fairly ambiguous goal, and along with the goal, she was given 3 binders full of data, and that was her tool set. And so the 3 binders included sales data, competitive analysis, consumer reports, any kind of brand analysis, anything that she could have wanted in the form of data she had. And so what she said, instead of looking at the data, she took her team and she said, let's just get rid of this, and what we're going to do is go out and watch moms just cook dinner for a start. And so they went into 3 dozen homes and just watched moms cook. And what they came away with was a couple of trends pretty readily. What they saw was, number 1, moms are always multitasking in the kitchen. They're constantly doing 3 or 4 things at once and trying to cook dinner. And so they decided moms really could use convenience in their meals. And the second thing they noticed was that moms tend to cook the same things over and over and over again. Why? Because once you find something that works as a mother that all your kids like and your husband likes, you just keep going back to it because you haven't slotted out time in your day to recook dinner because somebody doesn't like what you serve. And so, especially with a brand like Hamburger Helper, moms don't go buy it because they want to cook a flavor-rich gourmet meal. They cook it because it works and it gets the job done. And so basically from their observations, they came back with an idea that said moms want convenience and predictable taste, and this is what they presented to the organization as to how we're going to fix and grow that brand. And so as they started analyzing this, they quickly found a problem. This ad sums it up pretty well. It says that Hamburger Helper offers over 40 different flavors. And so if you think about this under this idea that Melissa's come up with, think of a typical mom that might like, she's gone out and tried 3 different flavors of Hamburger Helper that seem to be solid winners. Like every time I cook this, my family seems to like it. She's going to go back and keep buying those 3 same flavors. And so what you're essentially offering that particular mom, or the average mother, is 3 valuable products and 37 other non-value added products. And on top of it, I'd actually argue that not only are they non-value added, but you're actually taking away convenience in the process, because now you got to go search through 37 other boxes in the grocery store aisle and keep all the names straight to get the products that you want to provide that predictable taste day in and day out. And so they realized this was a problem. And to make a long story short, they took this and were able to convince the organization that the way to fix Hamburger Helper and grow it is to simplify the product offering. And so I'll jump right to the results. From 2006, the annual report for all of General Mills, Hamburger Helper was featured as one of the success stories for the year. And it says, how do you grow a 35-year-old brand? By giving consumers what they want. And so what they were able to do is simplify the product line, resulting in significant production cost savings. And through those savings, they were able to boost their advertising and actually grow. After 10 years of declining sales, they're actually able to grow sales revenue by 7% that year. So I think that was a significant accomplishment. For the sake of this discussion, I'm really focused on this first line. Somebody who put this together decided that they were going to put the way that they grew the brand was that they focused on what consumers really want. And I would argue they took this exactly from Melissa's idea. And so I think it's safe to say that her idea was extremely impactful. So the question is, why did that become such an impactful idea? And of course, I would argue because it's simple, it's concrete, and it's emotional. And so let's talk about why I think that's the case. So what makes this idea simple? Number one is core and compact. And so basically what she was able to do in a nutshell is take a big, grand idea like fixing and growing a brand, and she was able in 6 words to deliver a strategy for her entire organization. So it got to the core of the issue, what we need to do in a compact package. And secondly, it guided decision making. And I want to use the military as an example to kind of hit this one home. Is like the U.S. military is one of the most proficient planning agencies that the world has ever seen. I mean, when they go on a mission, they understand geography, timing, they understand every objective to a T. And one thing they also understand, though, along with all the planning that they do and how great it is, they understand the enemy will always destroy your plan. That's something that they just count on. And so along with each mission and each objective, they provide what's called a commander's intent, which basically says simply, when all else fails today, we must at least accomplish this. If we don't accomplish anything else, this has to get done. And that's what Melissa's been able to do with her idea. She even says herself after the project, she says, when I have a decision to make about the brand from now on, all I do is think back to the women I met. And she's enabled all the other people in her organization to do the same. Every time they have an idea or something that a decision they need to make and decide whether or not to pursue it, they think back to, does this provide convenience and predictable taste to mothers? If it does, it's great. If not, we need to rethink it. So she's made it very simple for people. Why is this idea concrete? Well, unlike fixing and growing a brand, as I said earlier, that's not a very tangible thing. Moms needing convenience and predictable taste is tangible. People can understand exactly what that means and how to deliver it in their respective roles. And not only is it tangible to people in many different roles, but it's universally understood. And I think this is an important thing that a lot of times companies fall short on this, is providing things out there that are universally understood. So whether you're the CEO, or whether you're a high school student on the assembly line, or you're a research chemist, or you're a 4.0 MBA Harvard student, you can understand exactly what she means by her idea and what you need to do in order to make this a reality. And so it's concrete. And finally, her idea is emotional. And the only rule with an idea being emotional is it needs to appeal to the individual. And so Mother Teresa really had a good grasp of what it means to appeal to an individual. And one of her most famous quotes, she said, "If I look at the masses, I will not act. But if I look at one, I will." And another way to illustrate this is the organizations, the anti-poverty organizations you see on TV that try to get you to donate to, like, poverty in Africa, for example. Like, they have a little girl on the screen and says, donate $20 a day and you can feed this girl. They really understand what it means. If they didn't understand what it meant to appeal to the individual, what they might do is put a map of Africa up on the screen and show you a bunch of data and a bunch of charts and say, this is how poverty has increased over the last 10 years, and this is what it's projected to do in the next 10 years, and this is how you can help. They understand that that's not appealing to you on a person-to-person level. Instead, they don't give you any data. They don't tell you anything about poverty in Africa. They just put a picture of a girl on the screen who doesn't look, she looks malnourished, she doesn't look like she has the right clothes on, and says, just give her $20 and she can eat for the next month. And Melissa does the exact same thing. If you remember back, she had the 3 binders with all this data in it. She could have provided all kinds of reasoning behind, this is why we do X, Y, and Z, and this is where we cut, and this is where we spend. And that's fine, that's a great support tactic for what you're trying to get across, but she didn't throw any data out in her main idea. She just said, here, you need to help a mom. They need convenience, they need predictable taste. This is how you can do it. Everybody can relate to that. And so that's what made her idea emotional. So really, in conclusion, I just think she gave us, Melissa gave us a great example of how you can take a big, broad concept, a big, broad idea, and by making it simple, concrete, and emotional, you can make it from a great idea into an impactful idea. And so, once again, in this case, I would challenge you going forward to try to find ways to apply this to your jobs. I know not everybody's job is making an organizational objective or making a vision for a company or a department at this point in your careers. It may or may not be. And that's the example I use today, but like I said, I think in all cases, you can find ways to convey information to other people in a more simple, concrete, and emotional way, and I think you'll see impactful results. So thank you for your time, and let me know if you have any questions.